Hi everyone, I'm Surah Swaleh. Welcome to today's episode of the Surah Swaleh Show. I'm excited to introduce our guest, the very talented Beth Broderick. Best known for her iconic role as Aunt Zelda on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Beth has captivated audiences with her charm and versatility for decades. Beyond her work in television and film, she's also a writer, director and passionate advocate for important social causes. Today we'll dive into her career, her latest project, and the magic behind her enduring success. Let's give a warm welcome to Beth Broderick. I want to start by first of all thanking you so much for joining me today, and it's honestly such an honour to have you on my show. I'm so privileged. Thank you so much for taking time out.
Of course, my pleasure.
The first question I'd like to ask you is, what gave you the first spark into acting, and what inspired you to become an actress when you were younger?
You know, I always was sort of interested in it. I can remember being in fourth grade, and I was the kid that was like, please call on me to read it out loud. I loved reading. I loved words. I had a great sort of bigger, more efficient voice than most kids my age, like
Yeah.
always had this really unusual voice. So I liked using it. And my father was an actor in college. He was a hospital administrator by profession, but he was an actor in college.
Right.
So he belonged to the local Huntington Beach Playhouse. I grew up in Huntington Beach, California.
Yes.
And so he took me to my first audition for a summer show, and I got the part.
Oh, okay. So I was going to ask you if your parents were encouraging with your career. So I guess obviously he was.
No, they were not.
Oh, okay.
They thought it was fun for me to do, but they certainly did not think I should pursue it as a career. Because people discouraged young people from doing that, routinely. I mean, let's face it, only 1% of people in my profession make over $20,000 a year.
Yeah, so that's quite shocking, actually.
It's, I mean, 1%. And those are the people in the union, which is a tiny percentage of the people that are trying to make it. So, the odds were very long, and my parents were like, really, you're really smart. Why don't you be a writer? And I was like, do you really think writing is a better profession? That's fair enough.
Yeah, yes, beautiful. So were you ever discouraged along the way in the beginning of your career? Maybe thinking, maybe my parents are right, I should listen to them?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I took a detour, Sarah. So I graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts when I was 18. I was the youngest person ever to graduate from there, and I was 15. I was a senior in high school, so I was moving fast.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Yeah, I was moving fast when I was young. So I kind of knocked around for a little while in LA, moved to New York, knocked around there for a couple of years. Really wasn't doing much of anything. I had a voiceover agent. I had, a little bit of stuff that worked here and there, but really I was basically a waitress, and and I just did not know how to be taken seriously or what to do. And then I started reading about this thing called gay men's cancer, and there was a state senator in New York that had introduced a bill to quarantine all gay men.
Yes.
I did not know how they planned to do that, like lasso them on the streets or round them up, but it sounded horrific to me. It sounded like more than just an illness, like this was going to be a civil rights issue.
Yes. You're right.
It was called gay men's cancer at the time. It was in 1984. And I decided to go down and volunteer. And I ended up serving Thanksgiving dinner at St. John's in the Village to 12 young men who were in terrible condition because the life expectancy was 6 months. So it was people's lives were destroyed very quickly in the early days. And I met this guy named Peter Abitable, who would become my partner, who threw himself on the ground and threw his arms around my legs and said, I need you. I need a woman so bad. I need your help. I need your help. That's how he talked. And So I said, okay, I'll be there. And so I really essentially quit acting and helped to co-found the second program for people with AIDS in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
did
was, I
that
was
for
going to
7
ask you about
years.
that. You're still advocating for people with right to get rights, and it's kind of shocking you said 1984, and that's so recent, that people thought that way not that long ago about other
Not that
people.
long ago at all. No.
Mm,
And it's something that we all have to keep in mind. Actually, the story I have coming out tomorrow is about one of the guys who was one of our clients named Walter
yeah,
at the program, Momentum it was called.
yes.
So I really did not know that I was going to act again. I thought
Mm,
people were offering me opportunities to teach AIDS social service delivery at MSW programs because no one had done it. So
wow.
the MSW world was trying to prepare people to go into a world where this kind of advocacy was going to be a part of their job.
Mm,
And that's what I thought I was going to do. And then a couple of people in the theater districts,
mm,
Leonard Finger, the casting director, and a couple other people got it in their heads that it was time for me to be an actress again. And
mm.
they coerced me and cajoled me and it basically rigged the system to get me a job.
But it's always been in the back of your mind to do work for others, aside from acting, it's always been in the back of your mind to do the other work as well, which I can see.
Yeah,
Um,
I would not be happy if I was just an actor. If I
yeah,
wasn't also somebody who was engaged in political activism and social
right.
service delivery
Mm,
and writing, if I
yeah.
wasn't using my voice as well as I can to try to
Mm,
speak for those who can't speak for themselves. That's really the most important thing I can do, I feel like.
I
And
love
I'm very
that.
grateful to have had a super successful career. I'm grateful that people still hire me. I just
Yeah,
finished 2 movies.
of course. You're
That's,
talented.
fantastic when you're 65 that people let you out of the house. Nice.
Nice,
Appreciate
yeah.
it. But, it wouldn't be enough for me without the other components of my life.
I got you. I got you. Now I'm going to move on to the role that I've always known you best for, which is obviously Zelda Spellman. Could you please just tell my listeners and watchers how you got that role and what that role means to you?
Well, I had to start by saying, people always ask me what's your favorite job you ever did, and of course I've done a lot of jobs. I just finished my 46th feature film,
Oh my God.
feature and made for television. Um, but I also there's no other answer than Sabrina the Teenage Witch. There is
Mm,
no other answer. It's not possible to prefer, no matter what the caliber of the work was, you can't prefer anything over
mm,
this show that has moved young people, continues to move young people
yeah.
all over the world
Mm-hmm.
and to inspire them and you know that kind of thing to be I knew when I read it it would be a hit and I knew I would be Zelda. I knew it the minute I read it. um I even told my agents that. They were like, they don't want you to read for Zelda, they want you to read for Hilda. I was like, doesn't matter, I'll be Zelda and this will be a hit. And they were like, okay, whatever. And it turned out that way. um
Brilliant.
but it's when you're shooting it, you don't think, well, this is going to run for 30 years. Nobody thinks that.
No.
That's not a component that you can even comprehend
Mm, it's true.
when you're doing a job like that. So,
Mm,
we all, I think, Melissa and Caroline and I and all the others, we feel truly blessed. We
yes.
recently lost Martin Mull,
Yeah,
um,
I'm sorry.
who I adored, who was so much fun to work with.
Will you? Will you do my taxes?
Receipts?
But
Yeah.
the number of guest stars and amazing people
Oh,
that we
so
got to
many.
know was just incredible
Yeah.
because everybody had a kid that loved the show.
Yeah.
So big famous people were like, "Yeah, I'm doing that show. I could be on the show." So it was so fun. It was just a wild experience.
Do you have a favorite special guest that is more memorable for any reason in particular?
I think Johnny Mathis on the
Oh,
Christmas special. He was on one of our Christmas specials
oh,
and he sang
okay.
for us. And we all were like, oh, he was my mom's favorite. I mean, it was a huge deal for me to have Johnny Mathis there. So, but we had so many fun ones. We had Debbie Harry was on the show a few times. And I said to her, people tell me all the time that I look like you. She goes, they do. Oh, good.
When you first met your on-screen sister, Caroline, what was that chemistry like when you both met each other for the first time?
It was, first of all, I was at one of the auditions. There were a million. We went a million times. And I did originally read Hilda. And then I begged them to let me read Zelda. And they were like, oh, oops, you're right. Zelda. So they were like, but if we can't find a Zelda, we can still use you as Hilda. So we're going to have you read both for the rest of time. But I was coming in and I saw Caroline sitting there. And I went, there she is. That's her.
Oh, wow.
I knew it the minute I looked at her.
Oh my God.
Later on, I read with her and I was like, this is it. We are there.
Wow.
And, I think we were a little wary of each other that first year. We were not close the first year. We were like, and, now she is my sister. We became so incredibly close throughout the process of shooting the show that I think we tortured, especially the hair and makeup department, because I could make Caroline laugh until she cried, and so we would just laugh until we cried all our makeup off, and we had to go back and put it all back on. They were just like, ladies, please, we couldn't help it.
And you've played a range of characters over the years in your career. How did you get into the developmental process of getting into the role of a certain character?
Usually, I try to find some aspect of myself that has that characteristic or has that quality. And I use a lot of music. So especially if you're shooting a movie of the week and, those can be a heavy lift, so I will tend to assign a song to each scene. So even if you shoot half the scene today and the other half 2 weeks from now, you can listen to that song before you start to shoot, and the tone, because tone is very important. And I think the tone of Sabrina, we got that right, and it's one of the reasons that it endures. And when I do Christmas movies, there's a tone to it that not everyone can grasp, and not everyone can participate in. So for me, it's knowing what the tones are, what the director is thinking, who the players are. It's usually, and also shoes are really helpful. So even if you're not going to see my feet, I will wear the shoes I think my character was wearing.
Okay, that's a new one. I haven't had that
Gives
before.
you a different way of standing, a different way of, if I'm in a solid boot, then maybe I'm a little more grounded. If I'm in a high heel, I'm a little more elegant, a little different, so. So the shoes are very important to me because they change my body.
The posture and everything.
The language that my body is speaking.
Gotcha. Okay. And over the years, what would you say are the biggest changes that you've noticed within the industry, whether good or bad?
It's not the same business.
No?
Not the same business. No.
Is it better or worse?
At all. Things have just changed pretty drastically over the years. The respect for actors is really considerably diminished. Artists in general in my business are paid a lot less than they used to be. Except for the top, very, very top infinitesimal percentile, they're paid too much, so there's no sort of the core, like the professional, cadre of people like me who can deliver for you anytime, anywhere, no matter what. We've taken a pretty severe hit, and the pandemic really didn't help. The strikes haven't helped, but I think and this is something you guys probably cannot relate to, but health insurance is one of the reasons that we actors kind of went down in terms of their salaries and what they're able to demand. Because
Right.
if you don't make a certain amount within a certain amount of time, you can't have health insurance through our union. And of course, in America, that means you're thrown to the wolves. So
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
will take a lot less than they deserve because they've got a kid who's got a condition, or they've got a wife who's got a problem, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so health insurance is really sort of the way that they diminished everyone's value.
Mm.
But I still feel very blessed to participate in making people happy. I'm so lucky I get to live in the Christmas world. I just finished my 10th Christmas movie.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, and it's called The Merry Gentleman. That's going to be out on Netflix
Fantastic.
this season. And I just did a really interesting independent feature called The Prince. So, which is very dark and very different, and it was really fun to participate in. So, I'm very blessed to still be making really good projects.
Yeah.
It's like, what would you really like to do? I'm like, another series with Melissa. Melissa and I work together whenever we possibly can.
I've noticed. I've noticed.
Yeah, we do. We're like, can Melissa do it? I mean, if somebody calls me to do anything like Sabrina related, the first call I make is Melissa. Like, are you going to London? Because if you're going to London, I'll go to London. If you're not going to London, like literally, it's that. It's everything's Melissa dependent for me. Like if she's doing it, I'll do it.
I love that. I'm glad you've mentioned that, because I just remembered a question I was about to forget. How come you didn't appear in the final episode?
Well, I don't really know. I was shooting something else at the time, and maybe they just couldn't make the dates work, or whatever.
Yeah.
But we had been gone that season anyway, so
Yeah.
it was
I mean,
kind of.
you were there. You were a candle, so you were kind of there. You were the
I
candle.
was kind of there, yeah. But yeah, who knows?
So you're also a director and producer. So I was wondering, what do you prefer, being in front of the camera or behind the camera?
That's a hard question. I really love directing, but when I was trying to break into it, it was still very, very difficult for women to find work as directors. The Me Too movement has changed that considerably, and I welcome those changes.
Wow.
But when I first tried, we used to have these DGA meetings. Women in the DGA, we'd all meet and we'd all just talk about why no one would hire us. Like, when no one would hire us. So eventually, I just was like, well, all the acting work just kept coming, and I just I kind of kept the focus on that. And and also really on writing, and on I've started modeling now at my age, which is interesting, but I've signed with a couple of great modeling agents, and so yeah, I think modeling is not so. I did some celebrity modeling when I was younger, runway stuff and for charity and things like that, but it wasn't something I had time to do or really had any interest in pursuing. But at my age, I think it's really important for people my age who are honest about their age, and who are, really supportive of other people who are part of this process. It's important for me to be visible, and for me to be, I want to say to Victoria's Secret, like, people my age wear underpants. Just
exactly.
This happens. This goes on. So, like, obviously you guys are not representing us anywhere on any platform, but we are wearing underpants, just for the record. We're doing it. So, like, for me, the modeling thing is kind of an important way of showing up for my generation. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. I just wanted to say, what were your thoughts when Netflix told you that there'll be the new version of Sabrina? And I'm sure you were happy to be involved, but did you think it's too dark compared to the original series?
Well, they brought Caroline and I in, and they put us in a room, and they filmed us watching the pilot of the new one.
Totally intriguing. It's just very dark. It's very different.
Oh, yeah. Our spells were more like bing, like sparkles fly out and glitter.
Your witches are really great. We really like your witches.
They look young and taut and
He's dreamy.
and they have hair.
Hopefully that's not a Harvey curse.
And recorded our reactions, and we were
saw
like,
that.
oh. We were like, I would never let her leave the house in that. Oh my God. We were shocked. I mean, like two little old ladies just like, oh. I think we were like, oh, Swan. We were very, very surprised by the kind of content that the new one had.
Yes.
But, I think we all really wished them well. And, Caroline and I were happy to go up and do a cameo on that show because,
Yeah.
the show was such a big part of our lives, and we only had good feelings towards the people who took it a totally different direction.
Very.
But they had a big following and made a lot of people happy too. So we welcome that.
Okay. And I have to also ask about this. You worked in the movie Falls Rush In with Matthew Perry, and I'd just like to know what your favorite memory is of working with him.
Matthew was a complicated guy. Funny as all get out. Very hard worker.
Yeah.
So for as funny as he was very serious about the work and getting it right, and meticulous about, like, he'd look in the mirror, say the line in the mirror, try to get the line exactly right, and then come back to you. So he was.
Oh wow.
He was hard to get to know. He definitely had issues then. The issues that haunted him and that he struggled with all of his life were part of his reality when I worked with him. And when I knew him sort of intermittently socially, we had some mutual friends. I always felt bad for Matthew. I always felt like the struggle was real for him,
Yeah.
But he's a nice guy and a talented guy, really talented.
Extremely.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely. Do you have any life lessons that you've learned in the entertainment industry that you're going to carry with you forever? Heavy life lessons.
Personal stuff happens, and it's just not personal. And if you take it personally, or you let people, like, this business will grind you down if you let it. Because there's always things that aren't fair, and there's always things that that happen to you that break your heart a little bit. But you got to have a tough skin. You got to be able to say, all right, well, there's a reason. And honestly, I can remember, I've seen I actually did a cameo for a young woman who was really upset that she's not able to find a good job. She'd been looking for a job for a while. And I told her, I was like, there were a couple jobs that I didn't get when I was your age that I really wanted. And I cried because I didn't get them. And if I'd done those jobs, I wouldn't have done Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So, there's a balance in it. And that you have to accept that the universe has your back and has a plan, and that you're not doing that one because there's another thing that's more important for you to do.
That's right.
But I've been very blessed. I think one of the reasons I still work as much as I do is because I'm kind of the consummate professional. I show up, I know every line, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, I know where I'm supposed to be. I'm never 1 minute late. And when you get into my age category and there's a lot less work for people my age, they're going to go with the people they know they can trust. They're going to go with somebody they know will be on time, they know their lines, they know will get the tone right, they know will deliver. And I'm very proud to be somebody that is thought of that way.
So. And I have to mention, you were very on time today, like on the dot today.
I am always on time. It's important to me. In fact, I was running because I had to go get some water. I was like,
thank you.
But yeah, no, that's important to me. And I think that's a good rule of thumb in any profession or any walk of life is, when I was a waitress, I didn't want to be a waitress. I was the best waitress I could be. No matter what you're doing, be the best at it that you possibly can. And that will lead you to the next thing, the thing that you're supposed to be doing,
That's true. That's true. Thank you. That was amazing advice, by the way. I've got 2 questions left. The next one's going to be, as you mentioned, the convention coming up. What do you enjoy most about doing fan conventions?
At first it took me a minute to get used to the idea,
Mm.
but I have met so many lovely people and I can't tell you, I mean, Melissa always makes fun of me because people, for some reason, when they walk up to my table, they'll often start crying. And she's like, why are they crying? I'm like, I don't know. She became a scientist because of me. She's like, what? I'm like, scientist. Like, she's like, what? It's
Oh my goodness.
it's so much fun to meet people and to learn what the show meant to them, and
Yeah.
and how much they still are moved by it and soothed by it and comforted by it. They say that the Washington Post wrote during the pandemic that Friends and Sabrina were the 2 most watched shows during the pandemic.
I'm not surprised.
It makes sense to me, like
Yeah.
it's comforting. But I had one young man who came to my booth at the 90s con a couple of years ago, and he was just shaking, and I was like, "Are you all right? What's going on?" He goes, "I'm going to ask her to marry me. Would you help me? Would you help me? Would you help me? She loves you. Would you help me?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll help you. I'll help you. Who is she?" He's like, "Her." So I go to my assistant. I go, "Can you go get that young woman and bring her into my booth?" And she goes, "Yeah, okay." So she comes into my booth, and he gets down on one knee, and we all start crying. And Melissa's like, "What?" I'm like, "Married. They're getting married." She's like, "Oh my God." So she runs over as she comes in my booth, and we're just, we're surrounding them, and somebody starts filming it, and we were able to hug them, and last year they came back to show me their wedding pictures, and they had sent pictures for me.
That's
So very touching. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. There's not many jobs in this world where you can have a story like that. If you have an impact like that, you're very lucky.
No, my favorite story of all time with Sabrina is, one day I was walking from my trailer to the set, and it was, early morning, probably like 8:30, and we started early. We started at 5 a.m. sometimes, really hard hours. And I hear this crazy commotion in the costume room, and I look in, and the costume woman is trying to measure a chicken for a tuxedo because the chicken had to wear a tuxedo in the show, and this chicken did not want to wear a tuxedo. This chicken was like, and so the struggle was real to get that tuxedo on that chicken.
Oh my gosh!
And there's just one other job. Do you go to work where that's something you see?
No, not at all. No. Oh, that's brilliant. I have to say, you are a very good storyteller. You do have a really good voice, and I'm glad we're using it more in your podcast and the stories you tell. You're really just fantastic.
Well, thank you. I have actually a lot of listeners and readers in England. A lot of people read and listen to my podcast. So
I've noticed.
Yeah.
I'm glad you started. What made you actually start in that direction? Because I know you've done other things in your career, but to do this, is it because I know podcasts are like a new thing everyone's kind of getting into? Is that what kind of made you want to get into it?
Well, I just started writing the stories, and then people were like, "Please record them," and I was like, "Well, okay," because I really came out of the gate like. I just instantly had a lot of people that wanted to read them because they were fun, and I talk about myself and stupid stuff that I do, like because I am really a ridiculous person. I'm at the grocery store. I'm like, why are my pants on inside out? Like, I don't know. Like, how did that happen? How did I get here? Like, so I write about a lot of those ridiculous stupid stuff that I do, but I also just have a lot of stories to tell. I could write a column every 10 days till the day I died. I would still have more stories to tell. People seem to enjoy reading them. They're fun for the most part, really funny, and when they're not funny, then there's some story that is important for me to tell. And the reading of them has become really a fun part of it. And a lot of my friends listen now instead of read, which makes me happy.
The more I speak to you, the more I can see why people wanted you to be Hilda, because she was like a bit more kooky and stuff. But now it's like I can see why they thought maybe you should be Hilda. But
yeah, I didn't have the right look though. I didn't. I mean, nobody can out kooky Caroline, and nor should they. Because she's just so fantastically, wonderfully, originally kooky. And I just felt that at the end of the day, I am a lot more, look, we were typecast. I mean, I am the conservative one. I'm the Caroline. I don't think you should wear that. That's too much pink. She's like, I think pink. She's like, I'm like,
You sound like her.
We really are, I was at the airport in New York, and the girl in the lounge, the girl goes, "Oh my God, your sister's here." And I go, "Where?" So we tried to find her, and by that time Caroline had left. She had to go get something, and I don't know, Caroline, she had to do something, and we took her bag, and blah, 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 and she couldn't come back, and so we just ended up on the phone for hours, like me, like laughing so hard I was crying in this lounge, just talking to her about, her latest jokes. She always calls me with her latest jokes. So, and her latest crazy story. So, we still have a lot of fun together. We still make each other laugh till we cry. So
I love it.
Blessing.
And the final question is, what would you like your legacy to be?
I think, I think I saw I think that I really tried to leave the world a better place than I found it. And I tried to honor my talent and honor the hopes and dreams of people that pinned some of them to me. And I saw a bumper sticker years ago that really is my motto, and it just said, "Die trying."
I like that.
That's what I plan to do. I try to make it better.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Beth. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a most amazing interview for me, and it's meant a lot to me. Thank you so much.
I really you're going to come see me, right, in London?
Definitely.
Okay.
My best birthday ever.
I'm going to be looking for you. All right.
I will.
Okay. Bye, sweetheart.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.